Welcome back to the Healing Energy Collective, a space for mindfulness, embodiment, and healing. I'm Scarlett, and I'm really glad you're here. Today, I want to talk about something that can quietly shape our entire emotional experience, and it's the difference between pain and suffering. There's a teaching I come back to often, sometimes called the two arrows. The idea is simple but incredibly powerful. In life, we're all struck by what we could call the first arrow. This is the initial pain. It might be someone saying something hurtful, a relationship ending, anxiety rising in your body, making a mistake, feeling rejected, disappointed, or overwhelmed. This first arrow is part of being human. It's unavoidable. But then there's the second arrow. And the second arrow is what we add on top of that pain. It's the story, the judgment, the spiral. It sounds like, why am I like this? I shouldn't feel this way. This always happens to me. I ruined everything. They shouldn't have done that. The second arrow is the layer of reactivity that turns pain into prolonged suffering. And what's important to understand is that this second arrow isn't something we consciously choose. It's often a learned pattern, a conditioned response, a protective mechanism. Our mind is trying to make sense of what happened, trying to regain control, trying to protect us from feeling vulnerable. But instead of creating relief, it often deepens the wound. When something painful happens, the body reacts first. There might be tightness in your chest, a drop in your stomach, heat, tension, or contraction. That's the first arrow. But very quickly, the mind jumps in. It tries to interpret, explain, judge, or fix. And before we know it, we're no longer just feeling the original pain. We're inside a loop of thoughts about the pain. This is what keeps us stuck. Not the feeling itself, but the ongoing mental proliferation around it. There's nothing wrong with you for experiencing the second arrow. This is what minds do, especially if you grew up in environments where emotions weren't safe, mistakes were criticized, love felt conditional, or you had to overthink to feel and stay safe. Your system learned to react quickly, to anticipate, to analyze. So when something painful happens now, your mind tries to protect you the only way it knows how. But protection doesn't always equal healing. So, what do we do instead? This is where mindfulness becomes powerful. There's a simple framework I want to offer: pause, recognize, open. First, we pause, not to suppress what you're feeling, but to interpret the automatic reaction. Even one breath, a small moment of space. Then we have space to recognize what is actually here. Not the story, not the future, not the interpretation, but right now. Maybe it's sadness in your chest, anxiety in your stomach, tension in your jaw, a feeling of disappointment. You might gently name it. There is sadness here. There is anxiety here. Not I am broken, not this is too much, just this is what's here. And then open. Open to a slightly larger space than the one your thoughts are creating. You might notice the feeling in your body, the sounds around you, your breath moving, the fact that you are here, aware. This creates space around the feeling instead of being completely consumed by it. Here's another way to understand this. Imagine your emotions like a river. Each feeling, anger, sadness, joy, fear, is like a wave passing through. Often, when an unpleasant feeling arises, we try to push it away or fix it immediately. But what if instead you could simply sit on the bank of the river and watch, noticing this is sadness, this is anger, this is disappointment. Allow it to move without clinging to it or rejecting it. Because the truth is, feelings are temporary, but the resistance to feelings is what often makes them feel endless. One of the most important shifts you can begin to make is this: you are not your thoughts, and you are not the second arrow. The thoughts that say, I'm not enough, I messed everything up, this will never change. Those are patterns, not truths. And when you begin to see them as patterns, something softens. There's space to choose a different response. When you pause, recognize, and open, you give yourself access to something deeper: clarity, compassion, and choice. Instead of reacting from fear or habit, you can begin to respond from awareness. That doesn't mean the pain disappears. The first arrow still lands. That's life. But you don't have to keep wounding yourself with the second arrow. As we close, I want to offer you something simple to carry with you this week. The next time something hurts, big or small, just notice, is this the first arrow or the second? And if you can, pause, take one breath, name what's here, and allow it to be just for a moment. You don't have to fix everything right away. Sometimes healing begins in the space between the arrows. Thank you for being here and for practicing this with me. Remember that you're enough exactly as you are, and I'll see you next time.